For years, I have been wanting a Marvel fighting game made by NetherRealm Studios ever since the release of Injustice 1 and 2 on the Xbox and PlayStation consoles. And now, that might actually happen, because rumor has it, NetherRealm and WB Gaming Studios might actually make a Marvel fighting game. So, this could lead to so many possibilities, not just the fact that Marvel would have a big budget fighting game, but also the fact that they could cross over with DC, or maybe even have some Marvel characters in Mortal Kombat games. The possibilities truly are endless with this one, but let's not focus on the crossovers. Let's focus on the most important thing, and that being what the game is going to end up looking like when it comes out. I have many fears, and I also have many things that I want. So let's showcase exactly the type of thing that I want to see from Marvel's fighting game made by NetherRealm Studios and WB Games. Starting off with something that I want, let's talk how the characters are going to look. The main thing that I want here is for the characters not to look like carbon copies of the MCU films. I want the characters to look unique, maybe have some classic comic looks, or look completely unique in general. Such as like how Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 had some unique looks for characters such as Spider-Man. I'd love to see that type of thing in Injustice. Too much MCU lookalikes would be repetitive in this world. We can't have everything depend on how the MCU is. We gotta be more free and have characters that aren't normally in the MCU as well. A game that would be a good example of this would be the first LEGO Marvel Superheroes. That game featured the likes of Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, Blade, Punisher, Moon Knight, and so on and so forth. I think it's important for NetherRealm to include as many characters as possible in the first Marvel fighting game. I hope it's something that's been in the works for years. I know Ed Boon has been teasing this for years in all these articles. I'll link one in the video right here. So, with that in mind, I hope this roster is big and I hope it's detailed. One thing that I fear and one thing that I would want would be to not include gear, or rather include more costumes rather than the gear. Because in Injustice 2, all we had was gear for the most part, therefore we lacked many costumes. One of the things that made the first game so good was that it included a ton of costumes such as Nightfall, Regime, Insurgency, New 52, and some of the Arkham City skins, and so much more. This is the type of thing I would love to see. So, if we were to get a Marvel fighting game, I think it would be really cool to not only get costumes from the comics, but also some from the video games. Like, how cool would it be if on the PS4 or PS5 version, you get the Marvel Spider-Man costume from the game? That would be sick. And I know it might be impossible, but if they included some Ultimate Alliance skins, that would be such an awesome throwback. Not only from the third game, but as well as the first and second game. Maybe the first and second game would be a little easier, but if they actually managed to get the ones that Nintendo created for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, that would be cool. And maybe even you could throw in some of the Marvel's Avengers skins for that. And how about even more out there? How about Hulk from Ultimate Destruction? I mean, that'd be cool, right? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Well, I tried.
I mean, no question do I want to see the movie costumes as well, but I don't want that to be a priority. I want that to be something that comes within DLC or something that you can earn in-game, because this game needs to stand out on its own first before it borrows from other stuff. However, alternate costumes is the perfect way to do that. But first, we need to make it look unique. Which brings me to my next point. As a fear, I don't want this game to be too much like Injustice. As a good friend of mine said on Twitter, that I might link in this video just now, I don't want this game to be just like Injustice in that some Marvel characters turn out to be evil. So, if you've played Injustice, then you know characters like Superman and Wonder Woman are far more evil than they really should be, and that just doesn't make sense. I mean, look at what Superman did to Shazam. I mean, you see this? It's absolutely despicable, am I right? We don't want to see evil Superman 24/7, so if they were going to make an evil Iron Man or something, I would not want that. That only really works for if this game is going to be centered around Civil War, which I don't want it to be exactly like the movie if that were to be the case. But making it Civil War, while that is a great idea, one that I think would work perfectly, I think they might want to try something else first. Since it's the first game in what should be a series, they need to introduce these characters and then start a conflict. Maybe have them take on a greater threat or fight amongst themselves a little bit. Maybe you could do something similar to what, say, the Ultimate Alliance did or Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and you could introduce the Masters of Evil. Oh yeah, how about that? That's something that absolutely needs to happen. Villains such as Doctor Doom and Norman Osborn are the type of things I want to see at first. Maybe some threats that aren't world-ending, but ones that would be able to take on the Avengers, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four and such with their intellect and their resources. I guess the main idea for this story should be that a bunch of villains band together to try to stop the heroes and conquer. That would be something that would make a lot of sense, and something that everybody could get behind for a fighting game. Perfect formula. This is more of a thing that I would want in general from NetherRealm games as a whole, but I absolutely want to see tag team mode return, and I think it should return in NetherRealm's Marvel fighting game. Why, absolutely why, did they take tag team mode out of Mortal Kombat, for example, in MKX? And they never included it in Injustice, and that's such a missed opportunity, am I right? Don't you want to see these characters team up to fight other ones? It just doesn't make sense. They've only had tag team options in the Towers of Time and all those optional things you could do, but they'd only be limited events, and you wouldn't even get to face another team. In MK9, you actually got to face a whole ladder worth of characters. So why, oh why, did they take this out and not include it in Injustice when superheroes always team up? That's like the whole point of having them together. Like, have you ever seen superheroes not team up? Why can't we do that in a fighting game? Why can't we do that more often? It's something that is a genius formula, and I don't know why they're not doing it. Another thing I would like to see is for the fighting game controls to be a little bit different than they are in Injustice. I, for one, am not a huge fan of blocking by holding back, and would prefer more of a right trigger or R2 button style of blocking. I would also like to see super moves handled differently that they are in Injustice 2, similar to how they are in MK11, where you have separate meter for enhanced moves, as well as your meter for stuff like breakers, and maybe even it could be your meter for your super move, unless they want to go the route of, having crushing blows. But I'd rather have a super move, since that's what we all want to see when we play as superheroes. And last but not least, let's talk about the modes that we expect to see in this game. Obviously, we're going to want a story mode, we're going to want an arcade ladder, we're going to want a tag team arcade ladder, and I say we should borrow from Injustice and use the multiverse mode, since Marvel does the same type of thing. That way we could see more alternate costumes as we fight people, so on and so forth. But as an interesting one, I think we should bring in what Mortal Kombat 9 did, and that would be the Challenge Tower. I think it'd be a nice change of pace if we added back a mode that I think a lot of people liked, which was the Challenge Tower. It offered plenty of different little mini games and various sorts of fights that you could do in order to achieve your goal. Now, maybe you could argue that Multiverse Mode or Towers of Time does the same type of thing, but I think giving us a goal, like a certain number of challenges to do, gives us something to grind for that doesn't feel too, like it doesn't feel like something you have to pay to win to do. And I would not want the option to skip stuff in the tower like it was in MK9. But on that note, I'd also like to maybe see some mini games, kind of like Deception and Armageddon, but maybe something fun for the Marvel characters that's a bit different and quirky. But anyways, guys, that's all I had for you today, and I'm going to do some separate videos on this. I'm going to cover this game fully, even if it's not fully confirmed. Once it is, I'm definitely going to jump into it. But I think one more thing I want to do before potentially this game's announced is make a video on the roster I'd like to see before we get some eventual trailers and reveals. So, hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to make more like this in the future. And comment down below if you have any suggestions for the Marvel fighting game, if you agree with my points, if you have any ideas of your own. I'd love to see them. I look at all my comments. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and good night.
Wah, wah, wah.